It's now my absolute honor to welcome our chief guest for the evening, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Now, he wears many, many hats, and I'm going to read them out as quickly as possible. He is the MOS for the Prime Minister's Office, MOS Independent Charge, Ministry of Science and Technology, MOS Independent Charge, Ministry of Earth Sciences, MOS Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, MOS Department of Atomic Energy, and MOS Department of Space. Please welcome the Honorable Minister to deliver the keynote address. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I think more important than how many hats are being worn is how much justice is being done to each of the hats. But nevertheless, very kind of you. So at the outset, I have to compliment you for organizing this event, the Family Business Awards, the Money Control Family Business Awards to be precise. And I must also appreciate this as a unique initiative of its kind. I think celebration this evening is for more than one reason, and primarily the two reasons being the celebration of Indian economy, because we were fragile 5, from there we've risen to first 5. We look forward to soon being at number 4 and number 3, and then looking forward to the award goal of 2047. And this has happened not without a consistent effort that has gone in for the last 10 years or so. And since nowadays we are expected not to talk without evidence, you would recall that before 2014 we were just about 350 or 400 startups in this country. And when for the first time Prime Minister from the ramparts of the Red Fort spoke about Startup India, Stand Up India, I think that was in 2015, many of the countrymen could not figure out actually what it meant for. So the concept was so vague and so distant in this country. But within 1 decade, we stand number 3, rank 3 in the global startup ecosystem. We are now nearly 1.75 lakh and number of unicorns more than most other nations. Similarly, if you look at the other sectors individually, like for example the biotechnology sector, because it's our firm belief and it's a considered view across the world, even among the economists, that the next industrial revolution is going to be bioeconomy driven, just as the industrial revolution of the 1990s was IT driven. And therefore, biotechnology is going to be a very important sector, going to add value to the global economy as well as, of course, to the Indian economy. And can you believe in 2014 we were just 50 biotech startups, 50. It's sometimes embarrassing to say also. Today we have gone up to nearly 9,000 biotech startups. And we are among, I think, few countries who have come out with a bioeconomy-related policy, which happened just about a month back, called BioE3, which means biotechnology for economy, biotechnology for environment, biotechnology for employment. So no longer are we living in the times when we would allow others or we would let others experiment, then gaining from their experience and their success, we would then adopt technologies. And I think the simplest example of that, because sitting among media persons, is that of the television that happened in US in 1950s and the famous presidential election of 1960 where John Kennedy turned tables on Richard Nixon was a consequence of a TV debate. And over here in India, we didn't know what is TV, what is debate. We got to see the first Chitrahar Savar in 1970s. But it's no longer so now. We are among the first to have our biotech policy, a bioeconomy policy. We are among the first 3 in the startups. And we are also among first 5 or 6 nations in the world, that elite league, who have formally launched our quantum initiative called Mission Quantum. So there's been a tremendous effort to actually ensure that there is a consistent rise in the Indian economy by exploring some of those areas which had hitherto been underexplored or unexplored. And the second celebration, of course, is very much related to the event this evening, the contribution of the family businesses. And family businesses, ladies and gentlemen, it will be amazing to understand that over 70% of India's GDP is contributed by family businesses. And mercifully, nobody has talked about dynastism in that. Otherwise, it might have been otherwise, even the data and the figures. And this contribution is also on the rise, unlike in politics possibly. Our projections reveal that by 2047, the contribution of the India's family businesses to the country's GDP will go up to almost as much as 85%. But as long as it's a healthy phenomena contributing in a positive manner for good reasons, I think we don't have to talk about it otherwise. And if we talk strictly in the terms of family businesses also, I think one of the main contributions, a very exclusive contribution by this government, and at the behest of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, by his personal intervention, his personal vision, have been some of the initiatives, some of the schemes which are exclusively meant to promote those areas of family trade which were getting extinct. And one of the most beautiful schemes, which is very close to my heart, and I think it's not much talked about, but I try to seize every opportunity to talk about it, is the Vishwakarma Yojana, the PM Vishwakarma Yojana. Because in fact, as a part of my public life, and whenever I used to work in the suburbs of Uttar Pradesh, I was working for the party there as well as in charge. So I would come across elders saying कि ये हमारा हुनर तो अब हमारे साथ ही खत्म हो जाएगा, क्योंकि बच्चों में तो इसमें कोई आमदन का जरिया नहीं है. Now this Vishwakarma Yojana is a yojana which enables you to carry on with your family traditional vocation, which is also deeply rooted in the Indian legacy, in the Indian civilization. So you are simultaneously promoting the economic options for the family and at the same time also trying to keep alive the legacy, the civilization of India in a more contemporary method. And the other important feature of this is that under this scheme, you train the family members or whoever comes forward, you provide them tools for training, you provide them money to get the tools, and you also pay them for the training. तो अगर पढ़ाई में दिल ना लगता हो तो आपको पढ़ाई करने के पैसे मिलेंगे. So normally when you go for a coaching or a coaching center, you have to shell out huge amount of money for that. Here's the other way around. The government is paying you for that. Which in other words also reflects government sensitivity. Prime Minister Modi's sensitivity, the government led by his sensitivity to keep the ethos alive while also promoting the businesses. So I think it's from that point of view, that context, we need to also carry this forward. Then you have the Prime Minister Swamitva Yojana, PM Swamitva Yojana, for the Rediwalas. I don't think in this country there was ever a culture of caring for the Rediwala. And even if you found one on the roadside, you would detest him coming in your way. And you never had kind words for Rediwala coming your way. Now here is a scheme which is exclusively dedicated to them. It's promoting their work, funding them, supporting them. We have more than 50 lakh street vendor groups who have already been benefited out of this. Then the Mudra Yojana for the youngsters who wish to initiate themselves into businesses. And for a certain amount, you don't have to mortgage anything. So that's something exclusive. So what I'm trying to say, in other words, is that for the first time, you have a government which is not only supportive of this kind of businesses, but is also keen to promote it while also keeping our traditional ethos in place. Now, if you go by the global index, because if we are looking for the global role, then you have to live by the global strategies, you have to live up to the global parameters, you have to live by the global benchmarks. Because we might be very good in playing gulli danda or kabaddi, but you will get recognition only when you beat the Australians in cricket. So you have to learn, if you are globally competitive, only then you can look for that Viksit Bharat 2047, because it's easily said. It sounds very fanciful, also very romantic, but have you ever thought, how would you do that? What are the indices? Where will be the technology then? And not only the technology is consistently growing, but it's growing with such a pace that you can't even visualize what would happen. The other day when I was talking to a group of civil servants in the academy, and they were in the process of preparing Vision 2047 document, I said, first of all, you must prepare indices for yourself. And the first question that you should ask yourself is, what will be your role in 2047? And second, whether at all there will be a role for you. But the change is happening so fast. And therefore, even if you go by the Global Innovation Index, I think we have reasonable satisfaction to say that in Global Innovation Index, which is a recognized global parameter of innovation-related growth, we stood at 81, rank 81 in 2014. Today, we stand rank 40, almost 39 now. So the world has started acknowledging us. World has started looking up to us with a certain amount of esteem. And as I was saying, in the context of the television versus the quantum, we are no longer waiting to be led. We are also in many ways ready to lead, which is again evident from our success stories in the space sector. Till about 60, 70 years, we worked behind a wheel of confidentiality. We opened up just about 3 years back to the private sector. There's been a quantum jump from 1-digit startup, we've gone on to 300. And of course, our ISRO was established, born in 1969, the year which has gone down in the history when Americans landed first human being on the surface of moon, Neil Armstrong. But today, we have landed on the southern pole of moon before everybody else. So we are no longer being led, we can also lead. So there's ample evidence to say that this is one of the better times happening also for Indian business. And for the first time, we have a government which is very forthcoming in opening up to the private sector. And that skepticism between the public sector and the private sector is vanishing away. And there were times when it was almost a taboo talking about involving private sector in the government business. Now it's the other way around. The government is getting involved in the private business. And you'll be glad to know that one of the initiatives that we have taken in the last 8-9 weeks was a couple of departments that she was mentioning also deals with that. The National Research Foundation, which we have come out with, which we have in the Indian nomenclature named as Anusandhan, which is rather a better version of the National Research Foundation of America. That's precisely what I was telling their chairman, Mr. Panch, because we have studied all the other documents and prepared it. And we have a lot of Indian flavor in that. Our representation in the governing body and the executive body will not only be from the scientific fraternity, it would also be from the humanities, from the social scientists, and also from the civil society, so that we also have the contexts in place. But what I want to emphasize is that nearly 70% of the resource would be non-government. So it's quite a sea change, almost 360 from where we were till about a decade and a half. And it's my firm belief that if we have to move on from where we are, we have to have a close synergy, as close as possible, between the research, the academia, the startups, the businesses. In fact, what happens in India is that we are also fond of having a pastime of casual talk. हम कहते हैं कि थोड़ी गपशप हो जाए, which in Europe you don't, आप किसी को यूरोप में ये नहीं कहेंगे, please come over in the evening for a gupshup. But here you do that, it's part of our culture. It may be good also in your ways. And the best time for that is your morning walk, where you discuss all the subjects, from White House almost to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And there you find people saying, अरे साहब रॉकेट गया तो क्या किया हिंदुस्तान? कुछ नहीं किया. वो देखिए नासा क्या कर रहा है. But they never realize that NASA has 60 to 70% of funding from the non-government sources. And in spite of that, if we are able to compete, that means we never lacked the human acumen. We never lacked the human potential. We never lacked the human resource. But possibly the enabling milieu which was available to others was not available to us. And that has happened after 2014, after Prime Minister Modi came in. And that has happened with a closer involvement of the gentlemen and the gentle ladies sitting in this room this evening. Because now we are open to move on as a single entity without living in silos. And therefore, and if you ask me about the intent of this government, as I said in the beginning, we are here to talk with evidence. The first 100 days of this government, Modi 3.0, had some important decisions, out of which at least 4 were linked to the promotion of economy, businesses, and that too innovation technology driven. For example, of course, the National Research Foundation, which was of course announced before the election, but 1 lakh crore rupees of funding from the government side was done after the election was over and the government came in for the 3rd time. Similarly, 1,000 crore of venture fund for space startups, again part of the first 100 days decision. Mission Mausam is something which has, excited the others also. Only today we had a delegation from Israel who wanted to understand what we are up to, and they could not even pronounce this. This is Mausam. So I took time to understand what the lady meant, but they were so much enthused about it that we have an exclusive mission dedicated to the forecast of the weather, to be very precise, because what was happening again by the gupshup crowd, they would say, क्या इनका दिल्ली का क्या विभाग है, इनको तो बारिश का भी नहीं पता चलता. कल कहा था ड्राई आज इतना मौसम हो गया. But we didn't understand that Delhi is no longer Delhi. Actually, this is a misnomer. We call it Delhi. We are not in Delhi. So we are almost what we call NCR. Haryana is part of Delhi, UP is part of Delhi, but we like to have the address of Delhi. So our address and entity, for purpose of identity, is Delhi. So what was happening is the number of the weather stations could not have a precise forecast beyond certain distances. So if I have a station here and I'm asked to make a forecast for Noida, I may not be as precise as you would expect me to be. And of course, you have a right to do so, and you're right in expecting so. So we are going to increase that number even for Delhi. We have around 30 or 50. We'll now have almost 300. And we'll also have the world-class state of art. So that was also one of the decisions in the first 100 days. And of course, the Bio-E3 policy. All these decisions taken soon after the government came in. And then, very recently, last week, we had that One Nation, One Subscription, which I think is going to make a huge impact for the education institutions. Because some of us, when we did our thesis, we were asked to visit the British Council Library for a particular book. When we went there, they would say, yeah, we have the book, but the Consulate Journal in Calcutta has borrowed it. So you wait for 1 month. So now it will no longer be so. And another example which is not often talked about, which I have fancy always saying, is that did you realize that in the vote of account that was presented by the Indian Finance Minister just before the election, vote of account is a part of the budget presented by the outgoing government, because in the democratic spirit that the budget full-fledged will depend on the priorities of the government that is to take over. So with that propriety, it's just kaam kaji kharcha. But in that vote of account, we did not include freebies. Normally that is what is done. Normally free laptops, free sewing machines. What we included was declaration to develop semiconductors, which the rest of the world is still planning. And second, to have space startup venture fund, which of course was announced, the amount was announced after the election. So what I'm trying to say is that even the vote of account, which is usually election driven, very close to the date of polling, was inspired by the conviction of the mission that had been undertaken by Prime Minister Modi and not by the constraints of the ensuing election. And therefore, to conclude, I would say that we are standing at the threshold of Century India of 2047, and to reach that pedestal, as Prime Minister keeps saying, each citizen has to contribute depending upon his might or his potential, which means that each member of the family, including the business family, will be expected to contribute in whatever measure possible. And therefore, when we embark today on the last leg of this journey to the destination 2047, let us all have in mind that the advantage that we have of a political dispensation, which is supportive and which I said we had all the talent at our command, but possibly we did not have an enabling support, which is forthcoming. And therefore, I have the confidence to assure the August audience this evening that government will always be forthcoming in whatever initiatives you take, because we are determined to move on together, because we know understand the importance of that, possibly as much as you do. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.